they're just vacant. You know, I mean, they're scratching their face a lot. Their eyes are closed. They're falling asleep in random places, like public places. You'd be out having, you know, dinner or something, and they'd be nodding off, falling asleep, and you know, you just think, oh, they must be tired, must have been a long day. But if it keeps happening, you know, that was normally my sign of something's happening, something's going on here.
The problem with prescription drug abuse is many times is they're not being taken in the way they're legally, medically, and socially supposed to be taken.
Because there's nothing really right there. Does that look okay? Should we move that picture, or is that okay? There's a picture right there. It's all right.
You start to take these medications, and for some people, they quickly become a real problem for them. Things spiral out of control very, very fast.
He was so, like, the smartest guy I knew, like, always looking out for others first, always protecting me and my friends, like, and it's just, you know, things like this happen to the people you least expect it.
A lot of kids don't think that it's a big deal because it's a prescription drug, so if a doctor's handing it out, how harmful can it really be?
If someone really wants to get their hands on it, they can. It's pretty easy, to be honest, which is really scary about it.
I could name probably like 9 kids that I know that have a serious problem with prescription drugs, and probably like 35 to 40 kids that I know that take them on an every weekend base or every other weekend base as a mixer with alcohol to party.
A lot of times when college students, you know, leave their parents' home, kind of leave the nest, they want to celebrate, they want to have a good time, they want to be independent. To be honest with you, a lot of kids that are having these issues are kind of immature. They don't really understand what they're getting themselves into.
And people that are addicted to opiates, it completely changes their personality. It's like you're, you know, working with 2 people. It's multiple personalities. It's either when they're high and when they're sober.
I think that it's a big problem for kids, and they don't realize it until it's too late.
There is no one demographic for people who are addicted to prescription drugs. You'll see it in young people, you'll see it in middle-aged people, you'll see it in all socioeconomic statuses. Prescription drugs doesn't favor one group versus another.
You know, drinking obviously is a big thing. You guys go to ASU, you know, a lot of people drink at this school, but before you turn 21, prescription drugs are actually probably a little bit easier to get than alcohol is. You got to worry about who's going to buy it for you, getting a fake ID, those kind of things. Where prescription drugs you can get from someone that had an injury and thought he'd make a quick dollar instead of, you know, taking the prescription drugs himself. So it's actually easier to get than alcohol.
It's not cool to take these drugs. And while some kids think when they're at a party and they're in the party mode and they're doing all this, but these life-affecting pills and these drugs, they're not cool. They're not in. They're not popular. That's not the way you're going to get popular. It's not the way you're going to meet a girl. Not the way you meet your 10 frat guys. Like that's not how it happens. Like they're going to take over your life.
What typically will happen is somebody will go out and party, they'll take all these things, they'll go home and go to sleep, and they don't wake up. They go to sleep and they don't wake up, and that's what happened to my son.
I don't walk around all day thinking, I gotta breathe now, I gotta breathe now. Part of our brain does that all by itself. When you start taking some of these medications, oxycodone, hydrocodone, and you take too much of those, you actually, along with the effects, you get the euphoria effects that binding to the brain. It also works through the brain to slow down our breathing. When it gets to a certain point, it slows down our breathing where we aren't getting enough oxygen and not taking enough breathing to support our body.
Your body it doesn't know what you want from it. You know, you're stimulating it, you're depressing it. There can be some serious consequences from all that.
Especially when these oxycodone and hydrocodone are mixed with alcohol, they increase the sedative effects of these medications. So alcohol, which is a depressant for the brain, mixed with these medications is a very deadly combination.
It completely affects your body stability. It affects every single organ in your body, every single function in your body. And, taking a nap or taking a Tylenol isn't going to help that when it's affecting like your bodily function and your organs. You're going to have to go to a doctor.
Most people don't want to know don't want to know how the sausage is made. They just want to consume it, and they don't want to know about the withdrawals or the negative side effects. And I think that most people that are prescribed it by a doctor that become addicted are hoping that doctor prescribes them a level that won't ever cause them to get addicted, and then all of a sudden they wind up that they are addicted.
I remember my son getting Vicodin for the wisdom teeth he had pulled. That's typical, very, very common. Many of the pharmaceuticals have really set up relationships with doctors, and it's not just the pill mill doctors. It can actually be your doctor, my doctor.
I specifically know of people that go to doctors in the Tempe area, and they just go in there and they say that, I'm stressed from a test, and then that doctor will give them whatever prescription they need.
It's all about money. Yeah, and I would never have guessed that. I knew, you can suppose that there may be some cruddy doctors out there, but what I've learned is they are more prevalent than you would ever know. And even those that are well-intentioned and are good doctors may be at times prescribing for their own self-gain in some way.
So it's not only drug dealers that are out there to make money. It's the pharmaceutical companies, it's the doctors, it's everyone. Like this, we thrive on money. It's how our economy works. It's how we work as people. Money, money, money. And they don't care that they're getting people addicted because they're making that dollar and they're keeping, they're making. A doctor is just as bad as a drug dealer, and possibly even easier to find in these days in 2010. Dirty doctor.
You have to take control over your own health and do a sanity check. If you were given a medication by your doctor, don't necessarily assume that it's what you need. You can tell often how you react to a medication right off the bat, and if you see any kind of strange reactions or don't feel comfortable, if there's a red flag that in your mind kind of goes off when you are prescribed anything, I think you really have to pay attention to your gut instincts and really do some investigation. Go on the web and find out what you can about those medications.
I think there are also people who get medications who doctors shop, who go to different doctors with very legitimate complaints. They've learned if they go with these legitimate complaints, they're likely to get medication. So we see that in some areas.
Is that, I am?
No, you're not.
Okay. Is that supposed to wiggle some?
And you hear about the crazy things that are happening with kids far younger than us, actually having parties where they'll just empty their parents' medicine cabinets and throw them all in one bowl and snatch a handful. I mean, that's really dangerous, but it's accessible. All they got to do is walk to their parents' bathroom.
Prescription drugs, especially Oxycontin and Percocet and those painkillers, became a really big deal on this campus until like a year and a half ago probably. And I don't know where it came from, but it happened.
It's that social setting, it's that social pressure. It's the need for people to fit in and to, be part of the group. Their friends, are hugely important to them.
Drug dealers go and advertise where they can make money. They hit the frats. They know which frats have money. They know which frats like to party. They hit them, and they just go door to door. And you make one friend with one person, and you're in. That's all it takes. They just need to make one right person.
The phenomenon, I think, is when you look at seniors, especially in today's economic, climate we're in, what's your job going to be? The money that maybe your parents or maybe that grant is helping to care for you and take care of your expenses is going away. You're going to be on your own. You're going to be on your own 2 feet. You've got finals, coming up, and in Joey's case, he had just finished finals. And so there's a lot of pressure. Where do you go? What's your life going to be? So I really think there are more pressures perhaps on college seniors. Okay, you're all set? Okay. I think the qualities about Joey, just from the very earliest moments of his life, where he was just so happy. He was a really, really happy kid, and you know, when I think of Joey now, it's always with a smile on his face, because he just really had a genuinely, he didn't have stresses, it didn't seem. He didn't really, he didn't get upset really easily, just a really easygoing nature about him. He was very interactive. He enjoyed, just kind of, communicating with us, and so just a happy kid. But in terms of college, trying to decide where he wanted to go to school, his number one requirement was that it be a Pac-10 team, Pac-team school. And so when we started to go out and look for colleges, those are the only ones we visited, and came to ASU. And he walked on the campus, and it was just like, this was it. I don't know if he had checked it out in advance. It wasn't like him to do this, but had he found out this was a party school, and had he heard that there were beautiful girls everywhere, which he found to be the case, of course. But anyway, ASU was it.
I met Matt freshman year, spring break, Rocky Point. We just had a great connection, clicked, pretty much love at first sight, and ever since that moment, things were great. Born and raised in Manhattan Beach, California. Matt's a really outgoing guy, nice, probably one of the nicest guys I've ever met. Got his head on straight, business mind, just trying to be successful, a really nice guy. Popular in his fraternity, good-looking kid. Was in the WP Carey School of Business, a great school, and normal, everyday guy.